They called it Project Looking Glass, a government-funded experiment run by a team of physicists and neuroscientists who were obsessed with one question. What if you could see yourself in every possible universe? Not just in theory, not just in equations scribbled on a chalkboard, but literally. The machine they built didn't look like much, just a steel frame, wires like veins crawling across the floor, and a massive circular screen that hummed with a low living pulse. They called it the mirror. It wasn't really a mirror though. It was a window, a filter. You sat in the chair, electrodes pressed to your temples, and the machine mapped your consciousness across the multiverse. The result was impossible. You'd look into that screen, and thousands, sometimes millions of reflections of yourself stared back, each one a little different. Different haircuts, different scars, different lives lived. It was supposed to be the greatest scientific breakthrough in history. Proof of the multiverse. Proof that infinite versions of us exist, playing out every possibility. But that wasn't the headline. The headline came from test subject 5. That was me. The first time I sat in the chair, I laughed. You would too if you saw it. Imagine yourself multiplied 100,000 times over, every version of you blinking, shifting, moving slightly differently. One version scratching his nose, another biting his lip, another looking exhausted. All of them you. It was mesmerizing, like staring into an ocean of glass. The researchers told me to focus, to scan the reflections, to see what differences I could notice. At first it was fun. One version of me had a beard, another had a tattoo I didn't. Some were wearing lab coats, some wore suits, some looked homeless, some looked dead. I chuckled at that, assuming it was a glitch. But the scientists didn't laugh. Keep looking, they said. So I did. And that's when I noticed something strange. In almost every reflection, there was a date. Not floating in the air, just present. On a clock in the background, on a calendar pinned to the wall, on a newspaper left on a table, even on phone screens. Different universes, different timelines, but the same date kept appearing. August 14th, 2025. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe some kind of system error, or maybe my mind trying to impose patterns on chaos. But when I asked the researchers about it, they exchanged looks. Tight, nervous. Just keep watching, they said. So I did. And I wish to God I hadn't. The deeper I looked, the more consistent it became. Every version of me, no matter how different, was dead by that day. Some universes showed me younger, some older, some with gray hair, some with none. But the end point was always the same. August 14th, 2025. The method varied. In some, I was in a hospital bed. In others, a car wreck. Sometimes violence, sometimes disease. But then I began to notice another pattern. The more carefully I looked, the more I saw that the cause of death wasn't as random as it seemed. The scenes repeated, the same hospital monitor flatlining, the same twisted wreck of metal, the same dark room with something waiting in the shadows. Different universes, but identical deaths. It was like watching infinite reruns of the same ending, dressed up in different clothes. That's when I panicked. I tore the electrodes off, gasping, sweating through my shirt. The researchers were calm, too calm. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes and a voice like ice, asked me, "Do you understand what you saw?" I shook my head. "You didn't see possibilities," she said. "You saw constants." They didn't let me leave that night. They said it was for observation, but I knew better. They weren't just watching me. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those mirrors. Saw myself dying again and again, over and over, always on that same date. When they brought me back for a second test, I refused. They didn't like that. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd cut funding, shut the project down, bury me with it. So I sat in the chair again. This time I didn't need their guidance. I knew what to look for, and what I found was worse. At first, it was the same. Infinite reflections, infinite versions of me. The same date lurking everywhere, like graffiti scrawled across reality itself. But then I noticed something else. Some of the reflections weren't just showing me, they were watching me back. Not all at once, just a few, a handful, scattered in the sea of glass. I'd move my head and they'd move with me, not like a mirror, but like predators tracking prey. And every one of those other me's had the same expression: fear. They weren't reflections, they were trapped. One lifted a hand and pressed it to the glass, mouthing something. I leaned closer, straining to read his lips. It was one word: run. I ripped the electrodes off again, but before I could stand, the lead researcher slammed a hand on my shoulder. "What did you see?" He couldn't answer. My throat was dry, my chest heaving. He leaned down, whispering like he didn't want the others to hear. "You understand now, don't you? The date, the death. It isn't coincidence. It's convergence. Every timeline narrows to one point. Every version of you meets the same end." I croaked. His eyes glittered. "Because some things are fixed, no matter the choices, no matter the universe. And you," he smiled, thin and cruel, "you're lucky enough to have seen yours." That was 3 years ago. I left the program. Or maybe I was let go. Honestly, it doesn't matter. They still watch me. Black cars parked outside. Phone calls that hang up when I answer. But I don't care about them anymore. I care about the calendar, because today is August 1st, 2025. 13 days left. I've tried everything. Doctors, diet, running from city to city. But I can feel it closing in, like a noose tightening. Every time I catch my reflection in a window, in a mirror, even in the back of a spoon, I swear I see one of them staring back. Not me, them. And they look terrified. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know if it will be a car, a bullet, a disease, or something else entirely. But I know when. August 14th. And if you're hearing this, I need you to understand something. The mirror doesn't just show you possibilities. It shows you inevitabilities. It shows you the end, and mine is coming soon.